Have you ever loved something so much that you only let yourself experience it in complete secrecy? For 9 years, I was a belly dancer no one knew existed. I practiced in darkness. I performed for an audience of one, my reflection in a locked room. Until my girlfriend gave me a birthday gift that changed everything. That's when I finally stopped performing and started living. But let me take you back 9 years, to the moment a single TV performance cracked open something inside me I didn't even know was there. My name is Maven. I'm 25 years old now, but this story begins when I was 16, and it starts on the most ordinary Sunday morning you could imagine. Before we dive in, please hit that subscribe button and join the Gender Diary family for more heartfelt stories about discovery, transformation, and love. And I'd love to know, what country and time are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. Please watch till the end. Every story holds a moment worth feeling. I was 16. It was an ordinary Sunday morning, the kind where sunlight filters through curtains and the house smells like breakfast. My family was gathered in the living room, half watching whatever was on TV, half lost in our own worlds. And then she appeared. A belly dancer, the screen filled with color. Deep purples, shimmering golds, flowing silks that moved like water. The music was hypnotic, pulsing with drums and strings that seemed to reach inside my chest and pull at something I didn't know was there. But it was her movement that stopped me cold. The way her hips rolled in perfect circles. The way her arms floated through the air like they were weightless. Every step seemed to come from somewhere deep and primal and free. I couldn't look away. My heart was pounding, not from embarrassment or fear, but from recognition. Like my body was whispering, yes, this is something you need to know. I sat there, focused, trying to appear casual while internally, something was awakening. Something I didn't have words for yet. When the performance ended, I felt different. Like a door had been opened inside me that I'd never noticed before. That night, alone in my room, I replayed that performance in my mind over and over. The shimmer, the flow, the absolute freedom in every belly dance movement. I didn't know it yet, but that moment would change the course of my life. And though the world moved on from that Sunday, I didn't. Something in me refused to forget. From that day forward, curiosity became something I couldn't ignore. I started searching online. Belly dance tutorials, basic movements, the history and culture behind it. I devoured everything I could find. Late at night on my phone, headphones in, learning in secret, and then I started practicing. At first, it was just in my room with the door locked. I'd stand in front of my mirror, trying to replicate the hip circles I'd seen. It felt awkward at first. My body didn't know these movements, didn't understand this language yet, but I kept trying. Slowly, I learned to isolate my hips, to control the small muscles that created those fluid circles, to feel the rhythm not just in my ears but in my body. The more I practiced, the more I craved it. I'd sneak sessions whenever I could, in the living room when everyone was out, in the hallway late at night, even in the bathroom with music playing softly from my phone. Each time I danced, something shifted inside me. It wasn't just about learning steps or mastering technique. It was about releasing the feminine part of me. With every hip roll, every body part wave, every controlled shimmer, I felt myself letting go of something. Expectations, maybe. The weight of always performing a certain version of masculinity. The constant vigilance of being what everyone expected me to be. When I danced, I wasn't thinking about being a man or a boy or anything at all. I was just moving, just feeling. Just existing in this pure, uncomplicated space where my body knew exactly what to do. My parents were supportive in their own way. They knew I liked dance. They'd smile when I practiced in the living room, tell me I had good rhythm. My sister would tease me, roll her eyes, make jokes about me starting a dance career. But they didn't know. They didn't understand that this wasn't just a hobby or a passing interest. This was me finding a language my body had always known but never been allowed to speak. By the time I turned 19, belly dancing had become more than practice. It had become ritual. I'd wait until everyone was asleep or out of the house. Then I'd prepare. First, I'd dim the lights. Just enough to see my reflection, but soft enough to feel safe, cocooned, private. Then I'd choose the music, usually something traditional. Arabic melodies with deep drums and haunting strings that made my heart ache in the best way. And then, the scarf. I had found a beautiful silk scarf at a market one day. Deep teal with tiny silver coins sewn along the edges. The first time I tied it around my hips and moved, hearing those coins chime with every step, every shimmer, I felt something click into place. This was it. This was the missing piece. I wasn't just learning dance anymore. I was dancing as someone. Not Maven the son, the brother, the boy everyone knew, someone else. Someone who lived inside me but had never been given permission to exist outside my mind. Each movement became an act of unveiling. Every hip circle peeled away a layer of masculine expectation. Every arm wave released another piece of restraint. Every body part whispered, you're allowed to be this, you're allowed to feel this. In those moments, alone in my dimmed room with music wrapping around me and silk chiming at my hips, I felt more myself than I'd ever felt in daylight. But even as I blossomed internally, even as I discovered this incredible freedom in private, I kept it hidden. Because how do you explain this to the world? How do you tell people that when you dance, when you move your body in ways society has labeled feminine, you don't feel like you're pretending or performing or being someone you're not? You feel like you're finally being exactly who you are. So I kept my ritual private, a sacred space between me and my reflection, a conversation between my body and the music that only we understood. But part of me ached to be seen, to be witnessed, to have someone look at me moving in that space and say, yes, I see you. I see who you really are. I just didn't know if that would ever happen. And then, at 25, Stephanie walked into my life. We met at a friend's gathering. She was warm, with this easy laugh and the kind of presence that made you feel immediately comfortable. We started talking, and hours passed like minutes. There was something about her, an openness, an intuition, a way of seeing people that felt rare and precious. We started dating, slowly at first, both of us careful, both of us wanting to build something real. And as we grew closer, I found myself wanting to share more of myself with her. The hidden parts, the secret spaces, the version of me that only existed in dim lighting with music playing. One evening, about 6 months into our relationship, she was at my apartment. We were cooking dinner together, laughing about something ridiculous, and music was playing from my speaker. An Arabic melody came on, one of my favorites, one I'd danced to countless times in private. Without thinking, my hips started moving, just slightly. Just that familiar rhythm finding its way into my body. Stephanie noticed. Of course she noticed. She paused, spatula in hand, and watched me with this curious smile. "Do you dance?" she asked softly. My heart froze. I could have lied. Could have laughed it off, made it casual, deflected. But something in her eyes, something open and gentle and safe, made me tell the truth. "Belly dance," I said quietly. I teach myself, in private. I waited for judgment, for confusion, for that moment where someone you care about looks at you differently, and you can see them trying to reconcile who they thought you were with who you actually are. But Stephanie just smiled wider. "Will you show me?" she asked. And so I did. I turned up the music, tied an imaginary scarf around my hips, and I danced for her. Really danced, the way I did when I was alone. Let my body flow and undulate and shimmer with all the freedom I'd found in those private moments. When the song ended, I was breathing hard, vulnerable, exposed. Stephanie walked over to me slowly. She reached up and touched my face, her eyes shining. "You look more yourself when you move," she whispered. And just like that, something fundamental shifted in my world. I had been seen, truly seen. And instead of turning away, she had moved closer. As my 25th birthday approached, I noticed Stephanie acting, secretive. She'd smile to herself at odd moments, ask me casual questions about my schedule, disappear into other rooms to make mysterious phone calls. I didn't press. Stephanie loved surprises, and I loved seeing her excited about something. The morning of my birthday, she woke me up early with that mischievous grin I'd come to adore. "Get dressed," she said. "Something comfortable. We're going somewhere." "Where?" I asked, still groggy. "You'll see." An hour later, we pulled up to a small theater I'd never noticed before. The marquee read, "International Belly Dance Showcase, one night only." My heart stopped. I looked at Stephanie, who was watching me with barely contained excitement. "You didn't," I breathed. "I did," she said, grinning. "Happy birthday, Maven." Walking into that theater felt like stepping into a dream I'd been having my entire life. The space was alive with color and energy. Performers in jeweled costumes moved through the lobby, their coin belts chiming with every step. The air smelled like incense and perfume. Music pulsed from the main hall, drums and strings and melodies that made my skin tingle with anticipation. Stephanie squeezed my hand as we found our seats. And then the lights dimmed. The music swelled, and the performance began. I can't fully describe what it felt like to watch those dancers. To see belly dance not on a small screen or in grainy tutorials, but live right in front of me. The power of it, the artistry, the absolute mastery of bodies moving in ways that seem to defy physics. Each performer brought something different. One danced with a sword balanced on her head, moving with impossible grace and control. Another performed a veiled dance that made the fabric look alive, like it was dancing with her rather than for her. A third did a drum solo where her hips moved so fast they seemed to vibrate, perfectly matching every beat. I was transfixed, felt happy than never before, and without shame. This wasn't just entertainment. This was witnessing something sacred, something that spoke directly to that place inside me that had been awakened 9 years ago on a Sunday morning. When the performance ended, the applause thundered through the theater. I stood with everyone else, clapping until my hands hurt, grateful beyond words. As we filed out, I turned to Stephanie, trying to find language for what I was feeling. "Thank you," I said, my voice thick with emotion. That was everything." She smiled, squeezing my hand. "We're not done yet," she said softly. I looked at her, confused. "Come on," she said. "There's one more surprise." Stephanie led me around the back of the theater to a smaller entrance. She knocked, and a moment later, the door opened. Standing there was one of the performers from the show, the woman who'd done the veil dance. Up close, she was even more striking, with kind eyes and a graceful presence that seemed to fill the space around her. "You must be Maven," she said warmly. "I'm Yasmin. It's lovely to meet you." I looked between her and Stephanie, completely lost. Stephanie was beaming. "I arranged a private lesson," she explained. "Just for you. Yasmin is going to teach you some of the fundamentals and—" She paused, her eyes sparkling with joy. "And I have an outfit for you, if you want it." My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear my own thoughts over the roar of blood in my ears. "Stephanie," I whispered, unable to finish the sentence. She took both my hands. "You don't have to if you're not ready," she said gently. "But I see how you light up when you dance. I see how free you become. And I thought, maybe you'd want to experience it fully. To not just dance like a belly dancer, but to be one, even if just for an hour." I felt shy, and out of words to describe what was happening. No one had ever given me a gift like this. Not just a lesson or the costume, but permission, validation, the space to fully become the version of myself I'd only ever allowed to exist in shadows. "Yes," I breathed. "Yes, I want to." Yasmin smiled. "Wonderful. See you soon." The following morning, after a night of barely sleeping from excitement and nerves, Stephanie arrived at my apartment with a large, carefully wrapped box. "Are you ready?" she asked, setting it on my bed. I nodded, not trusting my voice. She opened the box slowly, and inside was the most beautiful belly dance costume I'd ever seen. Deep purple and magenta, the beaded bra top sparkled with hundreds of sequins, crystals, and tiny floral patterns that caught the morning light streaming through my window. The matching hip belt was adorned with hanging beads that would sway and chime with every movement. Flowing chiffon drapes in complementary colors would attach to my arms and hips, adding an ethereal, floating quality to any gesture. A high-slit skirt in sheer, layered fabric would flow around my legs, revealing and concealing with every step. Coordinated arm cuffs and delicate bracelets completed the ensemble. It was regal. It was feminine. It was perfect. Even the air felt different. Charged, alive, like it was waiting for a story to begin. "Let's get you ready," Stephanie said softly. She sat me down in front of my mirror and opened a makeup bag I hadn't noticed. Her touch was gentle as she began to transform my face. First, a soft shimmer across my eyelids. Nothing heavy, just enough to catch the light. Then, thin eyeliner that framed my eyes, making them look larger, more expressive, more beautiful. A hint of rose blush along my cheekbones. And finally, a soft nude gloss on my lips that added just the right touch of refinement. She styled my hair next, brushing it loose so strands framed my face and flowed over my shoulders. "Close your eyes," she said. I heard rustling, felt fabric being placed in my hands. "Okay," she whispered. "Put it on. I'll help with the clasps." With curiosity, I stepped into the costume. The skirt settled around my hips. The top was secured. The hip belt was fastened, its beads already chiming with the slightest movement. The arm drapes were attached, making my gestures feel instantly more graceful, more fluid. "Open your eyes," Stephanie said. I looked at my reflection, and I didn't recognize the person staring back at me. No, that's not true. I recognized them immediately. I'd been seeing glimpses of them in mirrors for 9 years, in dim lighting and secret moments. But I'd never seen them like this. Fully formed, fully realized, fully here. The person in the mirror was confident, feminine, beautiful, powerful. The person in the mirror was me. I touched my face, watched the reflection do the same, turned slightly, watched the beads shimmer and the chiffon float, moved my hips just a fraction, heard the coins chime their music. "Maven?" Stephanie said softly, her hand on my shoulder. I smiled, not from sadness or fear, but from relief, from recognition, from finally seeing myself. I started, then stopped. What were the words? How do you describe the feeling of becoming? "You look like yourself," Stephanie finished for me. "You look complete." 20 minutes later, we were back at the theater, in a private studio space. Yasmin was there, warming up, her own practice costume catching the light. She greeted me with that same warm smile, but I saw something else in her eyes now. Recognition, understanding, perhaps even pride. "You look wonderful," she said simply. "Are you ready to dance?" The music began, slow, melodic, inviting. Not the fast, drum-heavy pieces from the performance, but something gentler, something for learning, for exploration. Yasmin started with the basics, but her teaching was different from the tutorials I'd watched online. She wasn't just showing me movements. She was inviting me into a conversation between body and rhythm. "Hip circles," she said, demonstrating. "But think of it as drawing a circle in honey. Slow, controlled. Feel every point of the circle." I followed, and she adjusted my posture with gentle hands. "Yes, just like that. Now add your breath. Breathe into the movement." We progressed through the fundamentals. Flowing arm movements that mimicked water pouring from a pitcher. Controlled shimmies that started in the hips and vibrated down through the thighs. A slow body wave that connected every part of my body into one continuous flow. Stephanie watched from the side, occasionally clapping or letting out small cheers of encouragement. Her presence made me feel safe, celebrated, loved. As I moved, I felt the costume become part of me. The beads chimed in rhythm with my steps. The chiffon followed my arms like extensions of my intentions. The skirt swirled and revealed, adding drama to every turn. "Now," Yasmin said, her voice warm and encouraging. "Close your eyes. Feel the music. Don't think about the steps. Just let your body respond to the rhythm. Dance as if no one's watching." I closed my eyes, and I let go. The music filled me. The rhythm became my heartbeat, and I danced. Really danced, with all the freedom I'd found in private moments. But now, without fear, without hiding, without shame, I felt the shimmer in my hips, the flow in my arms, the undulation through my entire body. I felt powerful and graceful and feminine and free. I felt alive. When the song ended, I stood there, breathing hard, eyes still closed, not wanting the moment to end. Then I heard it. Applause. Not just from Stephanie and Yasmin, but from somewhere deeper. From that 16-year-old boy who'd first watched a belly dancer on TV and felt something awaken. From every secret practice session. From every private dance in dim lighting. From me finally applauding myself for having the courage to become. That evening, back in my apartment, I sat quietly on my bed, still wearing the costume. The makeup still intact, but I hadn't wanted to remove it yet. Hadn't wanted to let go of this version of myself. Stephanie found me there, a soft smile on her face. "Hey," she said, sitting beside me. "How are you feeling?" I turned to look at her, and I felt tears rising again. But they were different this time. Not overwhelming, or confused, or afraid. Just grateful. "This is the best birthday gift of my life," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "Not just the lesson, or the costume, or the surprise, but because you helped me meet myself. You gave me something I never thought I'd have. Permission to exist in full color. The part one was too afraid to explore. The part one thought I'd have to keep hidden forever." I took her hand. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you for seeing me." She leaned her head against my shoulder, and we sat there in comfortable silence, watching the evening light play across the sequins and beads of my costume. "You know what the best part is?" Stephanie said after a while. "What?" "This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. You get to keep discovering this part of yourself. You get to keep dancing, keep growing, keep becoming." She was right. This wasn't an ending or a destination. It was a threshold, a doorway opening onto a version of my life where I didn't have to choose between who I was expected to be and who I actually was. I could be both. I could be everything. I could be me. They say transformation begins the moment you stop hiding. For me, it began with a dance, a rhythm that mirrored the heartbeat I'd silenced for so long. That day, I didn't just learn belly dance. I learned to become. I learned that the parts of ourselves we keep hidden aren't weaknesses or shameful secrets. They're often the most authentic, most beautiful parts of who we are. And I learned that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is put on a costume, stand in front of a mirror, and let yourself be seen. Today, I still dance. Sometimes in full costume, sometimes just in comfortable clothes with a scarf around my hips. Sometimes with Stephanie watching, sometimes alone in my room with dim lighting and music that makes my heart ache. But now when I dance, I don't dance to escape or hide or live in a fantasy. I dance to feel alive, to connect with the deepest, truest part of myself, to honor that 16-year-old boy who saw something beautiful on a screen and had the courage to whisper, "That." I want to know what that feels like. That's when you finally get to live. Because sometimes all it takes to find yourself is one dance brave enough to set you free. Before we end, please hit that subscribe button and join the Gender Diary family for more heartfelt stories about discovery, transformation, and love. And I'd love to know, what country and time are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for witnessing this moment with me. Until next time, keep discovering, keep transforming, and most importantly, keep dancing. The end.
The Gender Diary exists to light that path with shared stories. Whether you found connection in this narrative, you're on your own journey of gender exploration, or you're here seeking understanding, your subscription fuels our mission. Every subscriber empowers us to keep illuminating these authentic experiences for our community. Kindly drop a comment below. Your voice adds to the tapestry of experiences that makes this space meaningful. Until our next story unfolds.